This episode of the What's Happening Delco podcast is sponsored by Delco Meets for Business. Check us out on Meetup at Delco Meets, the number 4 business, and attend one of our incredible networking events. Be sure to register, and we'll see you there. What's happening, Delco? I'm Rich Shane, and welcome to the What's Happening Delco podcast. Today I'm joined by James Glen Pratt of Marketing for Gold. James, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Rich, how's it going?
James, what is Marketing for Gold?
Marketing for Gold is a fractional CMO marketing consultancy designed to bridge the gap between what most executive leadership teams are used to getting from a marketing team and what they really want. So I've been doing B2B focused marketing and sales for about 11 years. And what I learned is what the executives want is almost all financial. So we all know about a lot of the creative stuff that a lot of marketers are presenting people, which I love that. If you check out my brand, I mean, I live for that as well. But at the end of the day, it's really an equation that executives want to see. And it's dollars in and dollars out, that ratio, customer acquisition cost to lifetime value, right? There's some basic equations that I've just been listening to executives for my whole career and decided, they're the ones always paying my bills. So I'm just going to keep focusing on that. And I'm very process oriented. So I noticed that by creating everything into what I'm calling right now, it's subject to change, is marketing growth coaching programs. So you get hooked up with Marketing for Gold, and depending on your revenue size, that's going to influence the complexity usually associated with different size companies. But basically, we always give you an executive ready dashboard. So all those numbers I was just talking to you about, we would align on. There's so many of them. You can do more than you want, you can do less than you want. Each executive wants different things, but they're usually, I present to them a list and we basically set up their dashboard. They get a documented strategy and they get a documented resourcing plan that matches to what their strategy is. And the strategy is based on their goals and their budget. So it's like you can't screw it up. Every executive knows what the marketing plan is. They know what the strategy is. They can all look at it. They can all comment on it. They can all weigh in on it. Whether the marketing leader, whoever's the assigned marketing leader, so sometimes it's me, oftentimes it's me, but it's not always me. Because when we go to the resourcing plan, which is the who, how, when, how it actually gets done, sometimes it's me. Oftentimes it's a director of sales and marketing that I get plugged in with. So the executives want to bridge that gap. They want a more financial view on the marketing. So they put Marketing for Gold in there. And then oftentimes I'm working with a CMO, director of sales and marketing. Marketing manager is pretty common in the small companies or the really small companies. And the companies I work with, by the way, are usually 2 to 35 million a year. So they're usually trying to grow. They are growing and they have market traction. So those smaller companies in the 2 to 5 range, typically sometimes the CEO is the marketing manager. They're still doing everything, they're usually breaking, but if you put my plan in with a company like that, and then you hire a marketing manager who's at least a third the cost of a senior leader, I mean, it's pretty amazing the type of output I can get by installing this type of process. It's really a process, but I'm calling it a program.
Talk about some of the businesses, some of the companies that are clients of yours right now to give people perspective of what it actually is and who you actually help.
So when I started this business, I had hired an old employer that I used to work with called Luxtech. And Luxtech is an award-winning national LED innovative manufacturer. So they develop architectural grade. If you're in the industry, specification grade is kind of another way that they call it, but they make all these different shapes and sizes through their R&D that go into these super high-end architectural lighting fixtures, which was really awesome. So they were my first client, and I'm very thankful for the relationship I had with them while I was working with them and that they took me on through marketing for gold. And I still love to follow what they're doing now. So they were my first client. And then over the years, I've worked with a local national sign company. So a lot of the companies that I'm targeting to work with are all national. So lighting, a lot of lighting. AEC is kind of a pattern to what we've been doing so far, but it's not necessarily our focus. My plan can work with it can work with any company, but I am targeting product and technology because those are almost more guaranteed to scale than a service business. Because service businesses, you can have the best strategy in the world and the budget, but if the team can't execute it, that's where most service businesses seem to fall apart.
You have a unique way of presenting your brand, and fascinating to me. No one I've ever met is people brand themselves and they say they have a brand, but you literally, when you meet James Glenn Pratt for the first time, you know he's got a brand. Talk about your uniqueness and what you bring when you step into a room.
Well, I guess I'll paint a picture for the audience out there. And it makes me laugh. I'm smiling because I was actually in this chair in this office when I came up with the concept marketing for gold. And the concept it's like, I'll get to the visuals in a minute, but this is just backstory for you in the audience. Is basically, I knew I wanted to do a process product because no offense to marketing, but marketing is very often I present it as a circus because it's super expensive. It's easy to not know what you're doing, and it's easy to lose a lot of money if you don't know what you're doing. And so I was thinking one night, I was like, mining for gold is the most focused effort, one of the most focused efforts I can really think of in modern mining. Like if you look into what gold mining is like, it's not random at all. Like they spend the majority of the time. I actually did a lot of research, like with the World Gold Council and stuff like that early on when I was actually trying to see if this would all make sense in a way I could kind of tell a story around it. Is mining for gold a lot of the time is spent trying to figure out where the gold vein is, like where it is. If you can, and I'm not talking about in the dirt. I'm talking about geologically. Like you have to figure out where to go. Then once you figure out where to go, you start building the strategy. It's like how do you get to where it is? And it's very interesting. And I thought gold is so easy to think about, right? We're all trying to get gold, Rich. You're trying to get gold, right? And what gold means to everybody is kind of the same stuff. Freedom, time freedom, more leads, more sales, business growth, more money for your kids' college, right? We can all easily embrace the concept of gold, right? It's kind of like number one, right? When you think of gold, it's like it's just a good feeling. And so I was thinking about mining for gold and marketing for gold kind of came about. So I was like, yeah, I was like, that's it. I was like, I'm going to create a process that's like the gold mining process for marketing. And it just so happens that it sounds like mining for gold. So for your audience, basically, this actually all happened recently, Rich, is I've known I want to have, so part of my strategy, just to pull back the curtain, is anything that can be done in its own little quality way, I'm trying to figure out how to do it. And I am new. I've only been doing this full time for almost a year now. I've been doing it on the side for 3 years as of September. But basically, like having, NJM, what's that company that always says they don't jingles and mascots? They joke about not having a mascot.
Yeah, the insurance company in New Jersey.
Right. Well, they're just playing the antithesis to that concept, but most brands have a mascot. So what Rich was talking about is I go around I call it a mining suit, but it actually, jokingly enough, prospecting is like the name of like the people that I work with. They don't even know this yet, but I call them the prospectors. Like if you work with me, you're a prospect. You know this. You're in real estate, right? You're always prospecting. It's like ABC, always be closing, right? So I go around with a hard hat on, trying to look like like I'm it's hard to find the balance because originally the costume looked like an old school mining person. If you Google mining person, it'll come up with somebody with some huge hat and it just looks silly. But yeah, I'm trying to make the brand really strong. Like at the least I have fun with the brand.
Well, you hip hop it up because you got the gold chain. So
Well, there's got to be a gold element. What's the point of digging if there's
I
no
hear you.
difference to
If
the
you can't
gold?
get some gold on you, um, what I find is, and if you're listening to the podcast, I don't mean to say something as a pun, but you're dropping nuggets here, James. And I think that if people are paying attention, really what they're going to be able to get out of this is the way you address and the way you focus on what you want to be perceived as is exactly how you're going to help your clients. And we all want to be memorable. And I guarantee more than anything that I took away from meeting you is you are memorable, that no one can ever mistake you from anyone else because of the way you represent that brand. I've never heard it in a way where somebody said, I'm my mascot. You are the mascot for your brand. And who wouldn't want a great mascot?
It's so it's this. I'm just laughing. So just for the visual, Rich, you're making me smile, but you're also making me laugh because this is new. Like I have tons of plans. I have more plans than I can actually do. But the cool thing about with the we'll call it a mascot the costume. It's a costume, right? It's ridiculous. It's I finally got over it and now I can do it wherever I go, right? So I say that in that, I'm expressive and I'm a friendly guy and I do love people, but I also get really burnt out socializing. So like being in the costume kind of helps me break the ice a little bit because it's so ridiculous that it's just kind of like, dang, like this guy's really trying to do something and it does fit the vibe. Like, I don't know if you have heard about this, but have you heard of what's the saying, the canary in the coal mine?
Yeah, they smell the methane gas before. If they die, then the miners know that there's a gas, a noxious gas.
Right.
Yeah.
So coincidentally, that bird is like gold. It's very yellow. So my actual mascot is going to be the canary. I just can't afford the suit right now. So if anyone's listening, that's coming. But I already know where I'm going to get it. I have this huge yellow bird suit. Eventually at trade shows, you're always going to know where my booth is because anyone who's at the booth is going to be in the miner suit. And then you're going to have the bird walking around with the gold chain on. I mean, it's ridiculous, but it's funny how all these things just that's the fun I have with what we're doing. Like my goal is eventually to scale this to the point where I actually have an army of coaches and I'm focused on the brand. That's what I have the most fun doing, which I do want a disclaimer here is everything that we do from a branding perspective is based on our strategy. It's not what we would recommend for most businesses. Like we're definitely off the wall, we're edgy, we're cheeky. I'm pushing the limits. Like I'm probably gonna end up in trouble, right? Because I'm eventually, who knows, right? Sometimes you gotta push the limit to know what your limit is. And I'm definitely trying to figure that out. But I do say that if a brand's concerned about the approach that I'm taking, that's my approach, right? My whole point of being a marketing company is to push that limit. It's to be able to create efficient attention, right? That's what marketing is. It's just efficient attention, clearly defined audience. What's the emotional reaction you're trying to get? And I'm really thankful for what you said, Rich, because it is ridiculous that I go around in this. I still send my family group chat pictures of me in this suit 7 a.m. today. I'm getting in the car and I'm like, I'm still doing this is what I'm doing. So thank you.
I wouldn't put ridiculous as a way to describe it. I mean, I think it's genius, to be honest with you. I think what has to happen is you need to put your ego aside and your comfort level aside. And that makes you very strong willed to the point that you're able to do that because you're doing what 99%, 95% of people wouldn't do. And what you said there was really valuable that, look, we all want to start conversations and generate leads, opportunities. We all want to prospect. But if you walk into a room or a business or even food shopping, wherever you go, if you have that on at the Wawa or wherever, it's always going to generate a start to a conversation. I guarantee you have not gone into any kind of business where somebody hasn't stopped and introduced a conversation with you based on what you're wearing, right?
Yep. That's why I say it's a little embarrassing because no one believes me I'm an introvert. I'm just going to say that. They don't believe me that I actually am, but I
Right.
am. I know the difference because I get completely burnt out if I'm having to network all day. So I
Yeah.
haven't seen you all day. So I had I'm usually best when I'm more strategic and project oriented behind the scenes and doing all that. But no, you're right. And I appreciate that. You're affirming the value in putting the effort in doing that outfit professionally because that outfit was very methodically picked. It was easy for that outfit to not come across professional. That's not that was not the V1. You're seeing the, second and third iteration. It definitely looked ridiculous when I first started with this. And I finally landed fun story. Those the overalls, it was worth the increased investment. Those are like Carhartt overalls, and it creates a stronger impression. They're so heavy. It's it's fun. I mean, I'd love to talk to you. I don't know what direction you want to go with this podcast, but it's
Oh, it's all going to go downhill from here as I ask more questions. That's generally how it works for me. But I don't want to lose sight of the fact that you talked about the process of mining for gold, and I also started my thought about what you do from a standpoint of not the actual mining, but when you would sift through a stream and you would move the pan around and you're slishing it around looking for that gold. And I think when you talk about that process and you sit down with somebody, that's also what you're doing because you're putting everything into that pan, I would imagine. All the desires, goals, where people want to take their business, and you've got to start to sift through it to find that where you're going to say, this is where we're going to find you some gold, right?
right. So I'm totally cool with just giving away all the secrets. I know that sounds cheesy, but I've learned that the market dictates the success. The actual gold is in the product. And I've learned that. I've worked at enough companies, I've been around long enough, and we've both seen mega companies lose lots of money because the product wasn't good. The marketing is like a magnifying glass when you have the right conditions, right? A magnifying glass sucks when you don't have the sun, right? You need the sun. It's like that energy. That's the market. The market is the genuine burning desire for what you offer. And that's part of the marketing challenge I'm in now is I am trying to do something new. I'm basically a fractional agency, which is kind of a new concept, hiring senior level leadership at a fraction of the cost. This is something, if you haven't heard this, this is becoming more and more common. I took that a step further by creating the program with it. So not only do you get the leader, it's basically like you get an entire playbook so that you don't need me anymore. The goal isn't to keep me around. The goal is to grow. And when businesses grow, they don't have these types of teams. You can build an entire internal army that's super efficient. Then they're just working the system at the lowest cost that you can try to arrange that. Um, but yeah, you're right. Panning, so you kind of got me thinking about something. This is the secret that I wanted to say is everyone they always ask this. They say, "Well, what can you get us? What's possible?" And I've learned that the honest to God answer is you don't know. And the question back to that is, what's your baseline data on any of the things you've done, right? And most of the time, a lot of companies, they say, what are you talking about?
They don't
Right?
know.
We don't know. We don't know how to track it. That's why I put a heavy emphasis on the reporting, because if all that's broken, then I know you don't know the numbers. And if you don't know the numbers, you know, got to call marketing for gold at that point. But seriously, the whole panning thing, if everyone knew the message and the place to go to say the message, right? The channel. In your case, you're selling real estate. again, it's the same exercise. It's just a little different, right? Everyone's in a different vertical, different places, right? Um, it's all about running the process of what's the hypothesis, what's the budget to test it, what were the results? And really, you're just running those experiments and optimizing that across any given channel.
When you talk about marketing, James, you've said it a number of times about money and what's it going to cost. And the one thing and the one aspect that I see as well is it's about time. And when people say, I'm going to go with this company, and then 6 months down the road, nothing really worked, or they didn't see the results that they wanted to, that's 6 months worth of time. And if you have a product rollout, or if you have a message that you want to get out there and you've lost 6 months on your message, maybe by now it's stale, or it's no longer a message that people want to hear, or it's not topical. So are you able to talk about that time side of things as well, not just the financial side?
Yeah, for sure. I'm actually, like I said, I had a really nice time when I was working with Luxtech, and I'm going to give a shout out to their president, Greg Page. He's an awesome marketing executive, and I really enjoyed working with him. And I'm going to quote him. I'm probably going to butcher it. Don't quote me directly, but basically, he would say products need to launch onto the market. They launch onto the market. They don't like flop onto the market. They don't roll onto the market. There's got to be a plan. So to go back to that timing, um, it is so I think just to say this, if you're in a product business, timing is extremely important, right? Apple can't start talking about the iPhone 12 right now. It's like we're beyond that. They've already have the 14, the 15, 16, and now they're in the 17 cycle, right? That's the current iPhone marketing cycle, the 17. They also have the Air. Have you seen the iPhone Air, the new one? It's super skinny.
Okay, no, I haven't seen that.
Well, they're trying something new. So like timing when it comes to product companies is everything, right? It all has to be it has to all happen in one concentrated effort. You can continue on with it, but Apple's not going to be able to have the same juice in their messaging in October 2026 about the iPhone 17. It's just if we started talking right now about the iPhone 10, we're actually not only complaining about the conversation because we probably have one and it's in our dresser because it's so slow. And, we're just thankful we have a current iPhone, right? That's product marketing. And that's part of why I like that. I like product marketing. But what I will say is, when it comes to service-based businesses and your business, I don't know a ton about it yet, but as a real estate agent, I think that the challenge is it's less time oriented in your case. It's way more constantly trying to figure out ways to create trust around Rich Shane. I mean, now I'm kind of just flipping it around because I'm just thinking about you, but I would say, like, for example, if I were a service-based business, which a lot of the ones in your circle are, I've noticed a lot of the local networking events, accounting representation, insurance representation, law, right? A lot of these types of businesses. I actually think those are easier because there's such a clear cycle around it. Like, buying homes, right? There's clear ebbs and there's just a cycle to it, right? I was just talking to a guy in my neighborhood on my morning walk, and he said he felt like he bought or he sold too late, and he said he would have made way more money if he sold 2 months ago. I don't know if that's true. I don't know about real estate, but he said that that's what they told him.
I mean, I don't know his house. I don't know specifically what he has as the amenities and things. It's hard to say. And,
But there's
it
cycles,
depends.
right?
What's
There's
that?
times, there are cycles though, right? Like there's a
Well,
good time to
what's
buy.
interesting
There's
about real estate is to answer that question, I think prior to COVID, we saw more of the winter cycle where it was slower, and then we hit the spring market,
Mhm.
and then summer would slow, and then we hit the fall market, and then that would be the ebb and flow. But because there's been lack of inventory, because there've been, the difference where the interest rates have changed and home affordability, that has really put a difference on where we've seen those ebbs and flows and cycles. So when you say somebody would say, I could have gotten more for my house 2 months ago, I don't know. I can't answer because I don't know the specific house. I can
Well,
tell you
yeah.
that there are neighborhoods that have seen a decrease in value, and there are neighborhoods that are seeing still an increase in value. So it's so localized block to block, you just don't know in a real estate setting. It's hard to answer, but it is possible.
Right. See, I like your answer because something I want to preface here about my approach is we have to know who in the conversation and who in the room is the expert. And rarely am I the expert on the business. And that I admit, right? I'm not out here trying to say I'm an expert HVAC marketer, right? I could be. I could definitely learn that. That it's an easy cycle to learn. I can learn anything. But your response to that spoke to the type of conversation I would have with the business owner would be, what are the buying cycles? You write them all down, right? Typical patterns. And, I love doing that. That's kind of what I have fun with. It's like, it's just a puzzle. And it's kind of like, what are the recurring patterns? How can you emphasize them? Um, like, testimonials, I'm sure are huge for you. They're huge for everybody,
They're
but
huge for everybody. I mean, who doesn't
for
want a
you
Yelp
guys,
review, Google review, all those things?
mm, that is one thing I will say this as a marketer and being in marketing, doing your own marketing, it's kind of like the plumber's pipes sometimes if you get busy enough with client work and you don't have your business structured the right way, where you don't have enough resources to continue the investment in your own marketing while you're servicing, is the reality. This is, and I could be wrong, but I'm just speaking from what I've seen, is I added it in my service contracts. I said, after 90 days, I'm basically going to be hounding you. I mean, I'm saying it like that because that's reality. I'll tell my client that in the calls like this, and I'll say, I need these reviews. You know, I've done so much great work for certain people, and no one would know that. And
Yeah.
that's not the game I want to play. I don't
I
want to
always
play
say,
the
don't keep
complete
me a secret,
mystery.
right? If you're happy
Yeah.
with my service, don't
Yes.
keep me a secret because if you do, I can't help other people.
Exactly.
Who motivates you? Who inspires you?
All right, I'll tell you this story. I feel like it's just the honest to God truth. Again, this is an interesting story, but have you heard of the Liquid Death water brand? It looks
Yep,
like beer.
I have heard of that.
The owner of that, I grew up with him, which is crazy. Let's just say I was 15. My best friends in the circle were 18, or let's go younger because we met really young. Let's say I was 13. My best friends were 16. All of their older brothers were 3 years older than them. And, when you're that young, you're all hanging out, playing PlayStation, sitting around. They were all around, and we were all doing the same stuff, skateboarding and music, right? That punk rock, metal kind of scene. And we were all kids. No one ever thought anything, it's not like any of us were talking about having ambitions and maybe he did in his head, but we certainly weren't talking about building billion-dollar companies when we were all skateboarding and stuff. Long story short is, I'm not really close with the owner of that. I never really was, but we would skate all the time and I loved his band. And long story short was, I was jamming with this group, right? The friend and the brother, and they're all still friends. They all know him. He's doing obviously really well. And it came up about how big this brand started getting. This was like during COVID. We were playing music together, getting back together. Like a lot of my friends are still in the area. And when I found out about Liquid Death and what it had started to become, I just got chills because marketing can be really powerful. It can be, but more often than not, it's not, right? And just it's easy to point to a lot of brands that are just boring, right? It's easy to. And that's fine, right? Not every brand is going to be like Marketing for Gold or Liquid Death. They're that edgy stuff. I do that because it's fun. But it was just interesting how somebody took a can of water and all it is the can and all this crazy branding that they do. If you get a chance, go and follow them because Liquid Death's marketing is completely off the wall and it's hilarious. I mean, it's genuinely entertaining, and that's kind of Mike, the owner's philosophy. It's like it has to be actually entertaining. It can't just be like this corporate marketing. And that's kind of the approach I'm trying to take in my space is like I'm gonna be that guy in the space who's like pushing the limit of what's possible in B2B is kind of that's part of the reason why I'm trying to gate off and be in B2B. Because no offense, but all these B2B brands, it's a yawn fest, man. It is. And it's just their truth. So it's like, because if I went B2C, it's a lot harder to stand out being edgy. Because you follow me, right?
I do. I do. How
Yeah.
do people connect with you? How do they find you so you can start getting to work for them and getting them to help them become a household name?
Yeah. So just Google Marketing for Gold, marketingforgold.com. Check us out there. That's probably the best place to get a feel for what we're doing. And, if there's any contact through this page. But I really appreciate you having me on, Rich.
Well, we're not done yet because
Oh,
if you're
okay.
out and about in Delco and you have a cheesesteak craving, where are you going for your cheesesteak?
Oh man. So I'm gonna give two shout outs here. Um, Fill in Gyms in Parkside. I just recently discovered that, and I'm gonna give them the number two spot because they're closer. But the number one spot, hands down, is Gyms in Springfield. It's I think it's connected in some way, but not directly to the family that owns gyms on South Street. There's some connection there, but it's not a direct connection, I don't believe anymore. But that place is open till like 1 or 2 a.m., like almost every night. I woke up in the middle of the night one night. I swear to you, it was like 1 o'clock. I just woke up. I went to gyms. It was bad. That was in my 20s.
Where do you go for your pizza, James?
Oh man. Okay. So, just for the listeners, I live near media, so keep that in mind. Um, Coco's Aston's pretty good. There's a new place called Poseidon Pizza. Have you heard of that?
Yep.
That one, they have a wood, what is it? So there's layers to this, right? It depends on the type of oven they have, different styles, right? Some have coal fired, some are wood fired. Poseidon's pretty good. The slices on Main Street and Media. No offense to Apollo, they're the name I actually know, but they're not the place I'm recommending. Talk about a weird branding conundrum. I think it's called Little Anthony's
Yep.
on Main Street in Media. That might be the best, but it's only the best if you get the slices because they're baking them twice baked by that point. Now they're re-baking them. Have you ever
We've gone real technical. This is the most technical slice conversation we've had on this podcast, so thank you.
Well, funny story is it goes back to the whole process stuff. Everything's process to me. So if there's a tweak to the process, it can influence the product. And I actually started talking to the guys there because they love me when I come in. They can tell I appreciate it and they're happy that somebody likes it. I asked them, I said, I swear to you, I said, I've had your pies and they're good, but I said, the slices. I was like, there's something about it. And they told me it's because it's twice baked. It's like twice baked potatoes. I don't know if you've had those, but they're
Of
off the
course.
charts. They're
Of
better
course.
than regular mashed potatoes,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
What the heck's tomato pie?
Tomato pie it is a Philly thing from what I've heard. And it is, I believe they cook a Sicilian style base, right? So you can imagine a somewhat thick, flat base, and then they put a bunch of tomato sauce on it. And if you've seen, have you seen Corporalese, what they do local Corporalese, where they put like it's like the Eagles and the Phillies, they put a stencil over it, and then they put the Parmesan cheese. They put if you check it out,
Yeah,
Corporalese
they put the
make you
logo on there.
look it
Yeah.
up. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Tomato pie. It's just tomato sauce and maybe Parmesan. I don't think Parmesan's required. Is it? What do you think?
Here's the thing. I'm going to
Where
keep
do you get
asking.
your tomato pie?
I'm going to keep asking this because nobody has a. We don't have a general consensus yet, which I think is funny because everybody says tomato pie, but when you ask them, it's like I think that's this and that and the other thing. You're out and about in Delco, James, and you have a convenience store need. Where are you stopping? Wawa or Royal Farms?
Obviously, it would be Wawa. So Royal Farms claims to have really good fried chicken. I just never had it because I don't really eat a lot of fried chicken. I do
Yep.
love fried chicken, but I just never get it. And then they were a distributor of Krispy Kreme and still are. And those, I love Krispy Kreme. So you can't get those really, you can't get them at Wawa for sure. But here's the deal for all the listeners out there. Tell me if I'm wrong. Wawa is great, right? Wawa is the most premium gas station brand you can have, right? That's basically what they are. If anyone's out of state and you're hearing all the hubbub about Wawa, it's basically they're doing convenience gas stores, gas station food better than most. It's certainly not Michelin stars, but it's just general quality all around.
How do you describe Delco to someone who's never been here or has not heard of Delco before?
Hmm. That's actually kind of tricky. First, I would say it's authentic. I would say it's infamous. It's pretty known. So this is just something I never understood, but a lot of people, when they grow up in an infamous place, they generally bad talk it. Like I have a lot of family members who did grow up here. I grew up in Chester County. I went to Westchester University. That was kind of where I was most of my life growing up. Kennett Square, West Grove area. A lot of my aunts and uncles were up here in Delco, and they would always be like, "Yeah, I wish I wasn't here." You've heard these stories, people complaining about it. It's super genuine, and it's the food is off the charts. I mean, to go back to that, if I had to say what I think of when I think about it, it's got a very Italian um, melting pot of groups out here. But I skipped the most important thing, which is when I moved to Delco. I got into sports, like full on into sports. I've spent probably $1,000 now on gear and hats and stickers and tickets. And, the love for Philly sports here is so strong. I genuinely got into it. Like, I got into it, I say, from people at the grocery store. There's just so much vibe when it comes to sports here. Like, the whole Philly sports thing is real. Like, it's what we're doing here when we're not with our families. It's kind of, I mean, I don't know if you're into sports, but it overtook me. I was never into sports growing up, and now I'm like, that's a good feeling, because there's always something on. Doesn't mean you need to care about it 24/7, but there's something on.
Yeah, friends or family coming in from out of town and you want to give them or take them to that Delco experience. Where are you sending them or where are you taking them?
Well, funny story. It kind of goes back to a pizza place I didn't mention, and it's not my number one, but it might be my number one in the context of a sit down. Pinocchio's Pizza in Media. That I always say that has one of the most Delco hometown, small town America feels to it. You ever been there?
Oh, absolutely.
They have good beer. They have like an unnecessary amount of good beer.
Yep,
Like
they have a great beer selection and
yeah.
it's growing and there's always something different.
Mm-hmm. I love these questions, by the way.
Well, James, is there anything we haven't talked about on the podcast? Anything you want listeners to know more about you or more about mining for gold, more about marketing for gold, more about all the things you do?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the big thing is more of an camping out on the emotional feeling that I'm trying to convey to a lot of these executives, which is if a circus is on one end, the opposite should be like you've got a dump truck rolling out of the mine with full of gold. I mean, it's marketing should be fun. That element I do want to bring to every client I work with. Like when you systematize it, if it's not working, I know what the plan is. It's to get rid of that tactic. Pause it. Stop it, right? It's so having a relaxed vibe about marketing is definitely what I'm trying to bring. I don't know. Honestly, I didn't prep for this. I'm just check us out if you're trying to make more money with marketing. That's kind of what we're trying to do. Um, and there's no rocket science to it. Most of the rocket science is having to spend all these years in what I've learned and knowing when you need to have a leader, knowing when you need a Swiss Army knife, knowing when you need an actual blade. That's the stuff that my system will help you make those decisions about that are difficult if you're not knowledgeable. So it's like going to Meineke, right? If you don't, and I don't know anything about cars, but I know that when I go in there, they could tell me what I need and I won't be able to know.
See, you said
Whereas,
Meineke. I figured you would talk about Midas, you know, the golden touch there, but
okay,
you missed
okay.
an
I see
opportunity,
it.
James.
There's a lot
Look,
of gold
here's the
references.
opportunity I don't want people to miss. Look for James out and about in Delco. Say you heard him on the What's Happening Delco podcast. Thank you for being a friend of What's Happening Delco. Look, if you are serious and you're a business and you want to take your marketing to the next level, reach out because now more than ever, don't waste time, don't waste money on your marketing. Give James a call, Marketing for Gold. James, thank you so much for your time today, and we look forward to seeing you out and about in Delco.
Sounds good. Thanks, Rich. Appreciate your time.
Thanks. Hey, it's Rich. Thank you so much for being a listener to the What's Happening Delco podcast. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to learn more about the people and businesses in our community. I have been a real estate agent for over 25 years working with first-time home buyers to last-time home sellers. As a listener of the podcast, my gift to you is a complimentary 1-year American Home Shield home warranty. This is for buyers and sellers that I help. If you're looking to move anywhere in the United States, I have you covered with an amazing network of real estate agents. I look forward to hearing from you. My direct line is 215-313-3777, or you can email me at rshaneremax@comcast.net. Oh, by the way, I am never too busy for any of your referrals.